Playing pro hockey can be complicated. You'll have ups, you'll have downs. You might end up in the minors. You might be there a long time. You might make it back to the NHL and go back down again. But only you can decide what type of life of hockey that you want to live. Now, this guy, basically, for many, is considered one of the throwbacks that finally got back to the NHL with expansion in '67. This guy was the original Rock. Now, we know about Dwayne Johnson, but this guy was called the Rock for obvious reasons because strong as a bull, one of the most rugged defensemen of the pro era, played for almost a quarter century, and just like what he was named, he was Lazarus. He rose many times. Now, Larry Zeidel, born Lazarus Zeidel in Montreal, Quebec, June 1st, 1928, was a Canadian defenseman, most notably and infamously for the Hershey Bears of the AHL, for whom he played 9 seasons, and in the NHL for the Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit Red Wings, and the Philadelphia Flyers, during a career that lasted from 1947 to 1969. Now, Zeidel was Jewish and very proud of it. Again, born in Montreal. Now, because he was Romanian descent, his family suffered the atrocities of the Holocaust. His grandparents were burned to death in Nazi concentration camps. Now, this left a large gap in the Zeidel family and basically no closure in relation to his ancestral home. Growing up in Montreal, he decided to go into hockey and eventually became one of the most important skaters, Jewish athletes actually, of his generation. Now, he played for the Red Wings and Chicago Blackhawks in the early 50s and concluded his career with the Flyers in the late 1960s. Now he came to major prominence with, of all squads, the uniquely named Porcupine Combines of the NHLer in 1945. Now he skated in the Memorial Cup playoffs. He graduated to the Verdun Maple Leafs of the QJHL with 9 points in 17 games in 1946. Now, in 1947, with the Barrie Flyers of the OHA, 20 points in 28 games. But between 1948 and 1950, where he built his major reputation, he played with the Quebec Aces for 3 straight seasons in the QSHL, and in 155 games, put up impressive numbers, 18 goals, and 75 points, and played in 2 playoff series for Quebec. Now, in 1951, his travels brought him west with the Saskatoon Quakers of the WCSHL with 5 goals and 27 assists for 32 points in 58 games. But the penalty minutes were starting to rise. Last season with Quebec, 176 minutes in penalties and 169 with Saskatoon. Now, the legend started to build here. Rugged on the ice, wasn't scared to use his body, his stick when need be, got into fights quite often. Finally made the NHL with Detroit in 52 and helped them in their playoff run. He had 1 goal in 19 games and 5 games in the playoffs. 52, he also played with Indianapolis Capitals, 23 points in 43 games, including 6 goals. 53, he split time between Edmonton Flyers and the Red Wings. 54, again, with the Blackhawks for the full season, which was technically his rookie's campaign, 64 games, 7 points. Back with the Edmonton Flyers in 55. Now, in 56, this was where his long-time connection with Hershey started. Between 56 and 63, he was an anchor of Hershey's very popular and very successful team. Now, he had won the Stanley Cup with Detroit in 52, but eventually helped Hershey be one of the stalwarts for the association. Now, he broke the AHL record in 1960 with 293 minutes and penalties, and that held up for a short while. Now, still playing in the minors, he won the Calder Cup in 1964 with the Cleveland Barons. Now, with Cleveland, it was a good match for him because he was also spending time with the Seattle Totems. 2 years with the Totems, 66 and 64 games, 2 years with Cleveland. Now, with the expansion, or the expansion 12, Zeidel wanted to get back into the NHL, and he promoted himself in a unique way. He used a self-made promotion kit and resume that was sent to all of the expansion franchises. Now, the Philadelphia Flyers were looking for grit, and drew the interest of the Broad Street Bullies management, who signed him to a contract, and get this, at the age of 39. Now, with the Flyers, of course, he was involved in an infamous stick-swinging incident with Boston's Eddie Shack, which left both men bleeding. Now, Boston Bruins players let him have it for the rest of the season, and a lot of anti-Semitic comments were thrown at him, not only in the minors but in the NHL. It was a different time, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Zeidel was no angel, but like I said, to make personal attacks like that against a person who was proud of his heritage, and Zeidel was extremely proud to be Jewish extraction, but to see what he went in, it was kind of a cheap shot. But Zeidel could, give it on the ice as well as he can take it, of course. Now, after he retired from hockey, Zeidel worked as a marketing consultant for an investment house, using his late pro career contacts through the best possible means. Now, he eventually died on June 17, 2014 at 86 because of complications from multiple health issues, including congestive heart failure, kidney problems, and dementia. He was diagnosed after death by Boston University researchers who were studying brains of deceased hockey players. A panel of neurologists, neuropsychologists, and researchers reached a clinical consensus that he suffered from something called CTE, which is a neurodegenerative disease found in people who have had multiple head injuries. The report concluded that he had likely more than 100 concussions and may have lost consciousness over 10 times. By the time he had retired, he had suffered debilitating headaches, acute temper, odd behavior, and had made uncharacteristically rash financial decisions. But no matter what side of the fence you are on with Zeidel, he is part, again, of a very select list of successful Jewish hockey players. Now, if you look at the history of the NHL, key ones, of course, were, again, Ross Brooks, big goalie in the NHL, Mike Camilleri, played with the Montreal Canadiens, the Sarah DaCosta, of course, the U.S. Olympic champion, Olympic gold and silver. You had, of course, Jeff Halpern, a very good U.S. Senator for the NHL, Mike Hartman as well, and like I said, Brandon Leafschick, of course, a Canadian forward, very talented, Steve Richmond, and the list always comes down to Larry Zeidel, because Zeidel, I forgot Zach Hyman as well. I forgot to mention that as well with the Maple Leafs. Zeidel, basically, a lot of stories have been told about it, but to get back in the NHL after so many years out, but the Hershey Bears, the AHL at the time, you could have took the best 6 teams in the AHL and put them in the NHL. They would probably be very competitive. But like I said, he had personal demons that were caused by the style of play he did. But I know a lot of people enjoyed his personality. He was kind to many people. People, when he passed away, people spoke very fondly of him. And I'm just going to quote a little bit what it said in the Philadelphia Inquirer, talking about some people that remembered him. He said he was tough as he come on the ice, but often he was a total gentleman. Said Joe Innemer, one of Mr. Zeidel's close friends, he'd give you the shirt off his back. Now, at the time, he was considered, again, one of the game's best fighters, and typical light heavyweight, as we like to say. And Joan Bradley, one of his close friends, said she had befriended him when he used to live with a neighbor. He was like a giant teddy bear, he said. I loved him like a second father. Now, I don't know if the allegations by the way of Shaq had said anti-Semitic comments. There was no tape at the time. I know it wouldn't be put past other Boston Bruins to say something. I know Eddie Shack has said, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't say anything to him because Zeidel, he pretty well said he was an enforcer, a protector, and Zeidel said there was a reason why he played with an edge. I'm quoting the obit, the Philadelphia Inquirer. First, I played some senior hockey in Quebec, and we could play well and win, but the fans would rather have us involved in real brawl and lose the game. There were a lot of rugged guys in the league at the time too, so maybe it was partly a matter of survival. The other thing is that there's a big thing of being young and having stars in your eyes. The clubs themselves are as much or more to blame. They play up to tough guys. Guts, guts, guts is all you hear from a lot of coaches and managers, even as early as junior. I was playing for some coaches and managers would tell me, go get him. So I did. Now, I talked about that in a previous podcast. These enforcers and protectors were told by their coaches to do this because it was dog eat dog. 90% of the enforcers out there are not cracked. If anything, they're just doing a role. They're role players. But of course, with Zeidel and a lot of the enforcers, especially started in the 2000s, CTE and other issues, because the players are bigger and throw bigger punches. Zeidel was 185 pounds, 5'11". That's a good-sized person. But some of these big players now, you look at Zeidel Charlie, a good thing he's not a hateful person. 6'2", 220 pounds, pure muscle. Like, 185 pounds soaking wet. I've seen some people really hurt. Look at John Kordick. Check my podcast I did on John Kordick. Anyway, Larry Zeidel, again, a cautionary tale how his life ended. But I know he loved being back in the NHL. I know this for a fact because Flyers fans have said this through various, I think it's Empire Network, wherever the Flyers do, that Zeidel loved playing for the Flyers. And they loved him. And his passing was mourned by every hockey fan in North America because he was a throwback to when the AHL was, again, just as popular per capita as the NHL. It was that popular. You can make it in the AHL. Obviously, you can make it any place. Anyway, so if you like our podcast on the great Larry Zeidel, let us know. Give it a like, comment, or subscribe. And as we like to say, keep your stick in the ice because you never know. The ghost of Larry Zeidel may be trying to get the puck, and he's going to go through you to get it. Have a good day. Bye.